You've learned quite a bit so far. You know how to save reminders to the persistent store, fetch them to display, and sort them by properties. But you might have noticed a pretty big flaw in your Reminders app. Build and run the app. Now when it comes up, try tapping on any of the reminders. You'll notice that the view changes, the checkmark circle is filled, but the reminder doesn't actually go away to indicate that it has been completed. So how do we tackle this? The most obvious thing that comes to mind is to set the isCompleted property or attribute to true so that you can mark the reminder as done. Navigate to reminderrow.swift, and in the H stack here, you should see a button that toggles the view's isCompleted property. This is what sets the circle to filled every time you tap. In addition to doing this, you can toggle the value of isCompleted on the reminder itself. Now, when you tap on a reminder, you're actually marking the reminder as complete. But if you build and run the app again, you'll see that it still doesn't do anything. And that's because our fetch request is fetching all reminders, so it doesn't matter if it's completed or not, it'll still get fetched. To fix this, we only need to fetch reminders that have an isCompleted value of false. And to do that, you need a predicate. A predicate allows you to narrow down the objects returned in a fetch request by applying a filter, and is represented by the NSPredicate class. Just like you did with the sort description, you're going to add a new fetch request to the extension of reminder. So navigate to reminder plus core data properties. At the bottom here, let's add our new one. You'll use the same sort descriptors as before, so one for the title and another for priority. You can just come right up here and copy that. And we'll paste it in. Next, you're going to define a predicate that filters out all reminders that have been completed. And you'll do this by creating an instance of NSPredicate. NSPredicate is a really powerful class and you can do a lot with it, but it's not apparent from its initializers. You're going to select one that takes a format and arguments. For the format, you're going to define a string. Don't worry about understanding the string just yet, we'll get to that in a second. Now I'm going to remove the canvas here so that we have a bit more room. And for the arguments, you're going to specify two. First, a string, and then an instance of NSNumber. Okay, what even is this? NSPredicate accepts a format string as one of its core arguments, and this format string has a language of its own, literally. Under the hood, there is a predicate parser that breaks this particular string down and converts it into a set of rules. Predicate strings are a really complex topic, and we're not even going to scratch the surface in this course. But let's talk about some of the important basics. The %k and the %@ symbols are known as format specifiers, and they are two very important ones. %k, as the docs say, is a var arg substitution for a key path. What this means is that when reading this string, the predicate parser is going to substitute a key path in its place. Like the sort descriptor, the key path you're specifying here is the property you want to apply the filter rule on. Now, going back to this initializer, it took two arguments. So the first is the format string, and the second was a series of variadic arguments. Variadic arguments means that you can pass in as many as you want, and they're supplied to the function in an array. When the predicate parser parses this format string and finds a format specifier, it replaces it with the corresponding argument from the arguments list. Since the key path specifier was the first in the format string, it substitutes it with the first argument provided in the argument list. So evaluating this, your format string starts by saying, apply a filter on the isCompleted property as a key path. Okay, let's keep going. Next up in the format string is a double equal sign. Format strings support all the common comparison operators, and here you're indicating that you want the left-hand expression to equal the right-hand expression. On the right hand, you have another format specifier, %at. Where %k was a var arg substitution for a key path, %at is a var arg substitution for an object value. So just like before, the parser encounters this second format specifier and substitutes it with the second argument in the arguments list. Except this time, that's an actual value, and it knows the difference because of the %at instead of the %k. Your end goal is to filter out any tasks that have been completed, which basically means task where isCompleted, over here, equals false, right, which we've specified here. False is not an object value though, and remember this is an object value specifier, so you wrap the value false in an instance of NSNumber. It's important to understand how predicates work. Even though I said these were substitutions of values, it's not like Swift's string interpolation syntax, where the resulting string is something like isCompleted = false. That's not what's happening here. Which format specifier you use and where makes all the difference. If you were to swap the order here, it would fail. A %k or keypath specifier tells core data that the value substituted here is a property on the fetch result, and that the value of that property, so on every single reminder it gets, it is going to look at the isCompleted property, and for every single one of those properties, it's going to check whether the value is false. The value of that property should equal the one specified using the object value specifier. Okay, now that we have a predicate, you can create a fetch request and return it. All right, let's navigate back to reminders view, and we'll swap out this fetch request with the new one. Build and run the app. And now you can tap to complete reminders. How awesome is that? Predicates are a really powerful feature, and there's a lot you can achieve with concise predicate syntax. But we'll stop here for now. In the next video, let's take a quick detour and talk about relationships.